Well, we got the axle out and managed to stab ourselves with the pick, so this is going well.
Front wheels are spinning, back is not. Turn our switch on. Still not spinning because this is off. Energize that rear pump assembly. Woohoo!
So guys, the Audi is back inside again. You can see it up on the hoist there. I apologize for cutting the last video a little bit short. I was getting really frustrated trying to get the differential in there. So what I thought I was gonna have to do is drop the whole subframe, drop the rear end assembly itself, and then be able to push it in because the subframe was in the way like this much. I'll see if I can show you. What I ended up doing was just going and getting my cordless Dremel, and I took just a little bit off of the subframe. So I'm gonna grab the light. So let's show you that really fast, kind of in a tight spot, but I'm gonna get the light up there best you can so you can see what I'm talking about. You can see where I cut just a little bit of this off, so it actually stuck down about this far, and it prevented me from getting the rear end assembly that we welded up in here without dropping this whole unit down, which was going to be next to impossible. So I ended up making a little cut, no big deal, and then shoved it in. The welded diff part was a success. Check this out. Grab this wheel, watch that one. We're all connected. So next what I'm going to attempt to do is make a controller for the Haldex and the clutch pack in the rear end of this car. So how these cars basically work, we've talked about it before, is the computer receives inputs from the ABS, accelerator, stuff like that. I don't know exactly all of the inputs that go into this, but it goes into a controller which powers the pump motor, squeezes that clutch pack, and then gives us power to the rear wheels. So what I did is there's only 2 wires going to the pump motor, and I figured out what was power and ground. I powered it up on the junk unit that we took apart in the last video and was able to power that up. So then what I did, and this was after I got frustrated, I had the car up on the hoist just like this. I took the 2 power and ground wires from the pump motor and I used a 9-volt battery, and I was able to engage the rear wheels on the car. So I got a few goodies here. Let's take a look at them. First goodie that we got is a pulse width modulated switch. So there's a little dial on there, and what I'm hoping this does is prevent us from burning out the motor, essentially. This is all kind of just trial and error. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I guess we're gonna miss the event, because I went to order that controller, it was $1,200 and their website wasn't working. So I'm like, you know, if I can save $1,200 and do this myself, we'll try it. So again, pulse width modulated little motor controller. So the idea is when we're on the track, I'll have it at full bore, obviously, to squeeze those clutch packs. And then if we're waiting at idle, I'll just turn this dial and turn it down and just save some of that power going to the rear end. Kind of doing the same thing is going to be a little resistor. So this is a 1,000 watt, 5 ohm resistor. It's a ceramic fancy guy with a little aluminum heat sink around it. And hopefully, again, this is just gonna protect our pump motor. We're not gonna send a full 12 volts to there. This is gonna step that down a little bit. And then we got an on-off switch. So right now what I want to do is just get this all wired up. It's going to be on the exterior of the car, and we're going to put it together, show you exactly what we're doing, get some battery power, and see if it works. If it does work, then we can take the front axles out of the car.
Alright guys, I only got 2 hands, so using the phone for this part, moment of truth here. We're going to see if this works the way it should. Let me set you down quick. We'll start her up. First gear, front wheels are spinning, back is not. Turn our switch on. Still not spinning because this is off. Energize that rear pump assembly.
All right, so it works. At least the controller will actually activate the rear differential. So the next thing we got to do, pull the axles out of the front, and that's going to be our real tell. And then I think I might have to do something with the wheel speed sensors, because I know the computer uses that as far as slip goes, as to how much power it should send the rear end. So what I'm thinking is if we have that disconnected and kind of trick the car into thinking that it needs assistance from the rear wheels. That might help us. I don't know enough about this car to give you a definite answer, but that's why we're figuring it out. Of course. All right, so you can see way back in there, we have one of the bolts out that holds the axle in. So we're gonna leave the stub in here and then leave the front part of the axle shaft, the stub, on this end as well so the wheel bearing doesn't collapse. There it is again, having to get these out. This is a process. So it is a triple square. Here's our arsenal right here. So first, we got the triple square on the end of this. We have to pound it in there because it's dirty. Then break it loose by hand. Then use the Milwaukee. Then use this to push the boot down. And then take our magnet, pull that out of there while the boot's pushed down. This sucks. Real and raw here. I'm about 2 minutes from a meltdown. Like, seriously. These cars suck, and I'm just done with it. Done. So if you look at this thing, the strut, kind of like on the old Tauruses, goes into the knuckle there. So it actually like slides in and out of there. Yeah, you can spread the back where the bolt goes. There's a special tool, or you can use like a punch or something. Doesn't make it any easier. I'm out of breath. I'm sweaty. I pounded on that for about 20 minutes to get it back in place. I'm really starting to hate this car. But trying to be positive, we did get the axle out and it's bolted back up. Well, we got the axle out and managed to stab ourselves with the pick, so this is going well. All right, guys, I'm feeling a little better. We got the axles out of the front, and the back wheels, as you can see, are spinning. They're spinning a little faster than they were when the axles and the tires were on in the front. So now we're gonna get to cleaning up this wiring.
All right, so we're in the car and we're moving. But for how long? That is the question. All right, guys, so as you can see, the shop is in utter chaos. The Audi is working. It drives. Rear-wheel drive is a thing. I drifted it around a corner there. In Mexico, of course. I actually just took it out for like its first little test and tune. We'll talk about all that. I'm a dumbass, and I left my SD card for the camera at the house, so audio quality, visual quality, we're going off my phone right now. I want to get this video out. So the last thing we're going to do is check the oil, do a nut and bolt check, and then I have to drain the coolant and fill it up with water. Then we'll get it out to the track. So right now we're going to get it up in the air, do the nut and bolt check, and get water in the coolant system. You go in the trash. There's a nice one. Look at that one. His is nice. Ours is not nice. But ours is rear-wheel drive now. Nastiness. Alright, so currently feeling a little bit defeated. The car was working great. I was absolutely stoked. I was getting ready. I drained the coolant and added water, and then I was going to get ready to show you guys everything. I took it outside so I could let it idle down and bleed off the coolant. Went to move it back into a parking spot, and it wouldn't move. So I'm not an electrical expert by any means. Like, if I had to pick an area of automotive that I am weakest at, it's electronics, right? And that's the case for a lot of people. But what I did to make this work is energize that pump motor that activates the clutch pack for the rear end, right? And what I did and thought that would make it safe is using that pulse width modulated dial so that I could kind of sort of control the voltage going to the back. And it did work, because if I turned the dial all the way down, it would cut power to the back, de-energize that clutch pack, car wouldn't move. And I'm like, great, now I'm not just gonna run voltage straight to this motor all the time. I did also get some heavy duty resistors, but in theory that pulse width modulated switch should do close to the same thing. And long story short, I chased down my wiring harness, went right to the pump motor is fried. I do have a spare one, and what I'm gonna do is put that one in, pray to God I don't burn it out, and I'm going to wire in one of those resistors that I have. Right now, we are going to Harbor Freight because my snap-on Allen sockets to get the top bolt on this little motor on the rear end, the snap-on ones are too long, and the other ones that I have are too short, and you can't use like a normal Allen wrench to get in there. It's just very tight. So The other thing we got to worry about is I'm hoping I can do this quick and not lose all my Haldex fluid. Guess how much this stuff is? Not $20 a quart, not $30 a quart, $42 a quart.